Hello, I'm Hunter Akridge, a research associate at the Tech Solidarity Lab at CMU, and I'll be presenting this paper, The Bus is Nothing Without Us, Making Visible the Labor of Bus Operators Amid the Ongoing Push Towards Transit Automation, in which my co-authors and I argue that bus operators should have a voice and a critical role in the future of transportation. My co-authors are Bo Fan, Alice Tang, Chinar Mehta, Nick Martelaro, and Sarah Fox. This work has been done in partnership with the Transport Workers Union of America, TWU, the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU, and the AFL-CIO Technology Institute. You can follow our work and learn more about these partnerships at codesigningtransit.com. I'll start with an opening vignette, transition to some background on transit work, current technologies, and ongoing transit automation. I will then describe literature that motivates our project and shapes our methodological approach. And after detailing how we carried out this research, I will describe and discuss our findings. The bus makes a stop in front of a drug treatment clinic in Portland, Maine. A man boards, and later the driver, Chris Varian, notices him pacing nervously in the back. The next moment, he's overdosing, collapsed, unconscious in the back of the bus. Varian pulls over. He rushes to the back and begins chest compressions, a skill he learned in the military, while a friend of the man begins administering an opioid overdose reversal drug. Before the paramedics arrive, he's already returning to consciousness. This story is heroic, but not exceptional. Bus operators not only get riders where they need to go, but do so in a way that ensures public safety. This often means stepping up in the event of a crisis, as Varian did. In addition to the ways bus operators ensure accessible, equitable, safe, and increasingly green mobility, bus operators go above and beyond. Bus transit is a core part of what makes our cities run. I'll also note that as a skilled profession, bus operations provides security, dignity for more than 100,000 working Americans who are disproportionately people of color. However, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and a long-term failure to adequately invest in transit operations, bus operators are in crisis. There are staffing shortfalls across many transit agencies and elevated rates of assault. These are just a few of the headlines in the popular press about this issue. But as frontline public servants, bus operators contend with layered crises that have to do with long-term policy changes in housing, healthcare, and policing. To make sense of the effects this has on bus drivers, we turn to work by Hastings and Gannon to describe how government workers in the UK bear the brunt of the retreat of the welfare state and social care. At the same time bus operators are in crisis, transit automation is spreading. While much of the attention, including in HCI, has been directed towards self-driving passenger vehicles, there is increasing visibility and funding for automation in public transit. The Federal Transit Administration has launched a transit automation program. Their strategic automation research plan is depicted here. There has been some concern in the popular discourse as well around the threat that automation poses to transit workers, which is discussed in this Atlantic article with particular attention to equity impacts. For more context, this map shows locations of dozens of bus automation pilots in the US, mostly with shuttles, but some with full-length 40-foot buses. Blue is with the Federal Department of Transportation. In the face of this technological change, what is to be done? Existing HCI research on transit bus automation has largely focused on passenger perceptions and experiences, even suggesting ways to increase acceptance. However, workers' voices are absent. So to answer this question, we turn towards the history of participatory design, which emerged as a framework for giving those who stood to be most impacted by technological change a voice in that process. We also take inspiration from previous HCI literature that has taken a close and careful look at the impact of digital transformations on bus operators. Pritchard et al. Argue that there needs to be an increase in the involvement of drivers in the design of role-transforming technologies. Similar calls emerge out of existing human factors research, examining the impact of advanced driver assistance systems, or ADAS. We take up this call to better understand the potential impacts of transit automation through the experiences and perceptions of drivers. We ask, what are the full range of tasks and roles that bus operators take on? What are bus operators' own perceptions of automation? And what does a deeper understanding of operators' roles tell us about what automation could mean for bus operators and the communities they serve? For this study, we spoke with 16 operators across the US. Together, they represent each major region of the US, some with decades of experience. Despite what might seem like routine, across our interviews, bus operators described how they frequently confront circumstances on the road and inside the bus that require split-second decision-making, nuanced social judgments that go beyond route driving. Manuel, an operator working at a college campus, stated that, I got people jumping out of the bushes, coming in front of me across the street, And so that's completely unexpected. So we have to expect the unexpected as a part of our driving routine. Operators describe scenarios where they not only need to make split-second decisions on the road, but exercise discretion. This might include making a detour due to construction or many other reasons. Maya described being caught in the crossfire between rival gangs and having to reverse the bus down the street to get myself and my passengers out of a dangerous situation. Additionally, operators shared stories of drivers noticing something was wrong on the street and intervening to save lives. Beyond responding to events on the road, bus operators also described how they attend to riders' distinct needs. Operators spoke about instances where they noticed something was a little off, an elderly passenger looking down and seeming confusion, an anxious child who appears to be alone, or just a fleeting expression of desperation. They describe choosing to intervene time and time again, offering assistance, directions to social services, or even assuming responsibility for a rider's well-being. For example, Gabrielle relayed a striking incident. She described starting out one morning at 4 a.m. in the bitter cold, snow and ice were on the ground, yet an older woman was waiting at a bus stop without a coat. She found herself worrying about this passenger and eventually approached her to find out where she was going. It turned out this passenger was traveling to a medical center that wouldn't be open for hours. So instead of leaving her out in the cold, Gabrielle decided to take her to a transit center where she could wait and stay warm, even though it was not yet open to the general public. Bus operators also described dealing with unsafe working conditions, particularly in recent years, in part through interacting with and servicing passengers. Caleb reported that just recently, I had an unexpected assault. There was nothing I could do. This person got on, he was having a bad day, and he had recently gotten out of jail, and he was held overnight. He was still inebriated, and I said good morning to the guy. I guess that might have made him mad, and he began to attack me. Bus operators had mixed views of technological adoption, with many appreciating passenger-facing technologies like transit and translation apps. However, it came up again and again that they were not consulted during the design, development, or implementation of many of the tools they use as a part of their day-to-day routines. For example, Gabrielle described a lane departure warning system not properly attuned to her driving conditions. She reflected that they're making our lanes more narrow. Then they put in these bike lanes right on both sides. And so the lane assist in those situations, it's very annoying. You have to ride more and more on the line so you don't constantly hear that beeping. She then reflected about how this created unsafe driving and could potentially distract her from things she needed to pay attention to on the road. Not surprisingly, given these reflections and shortfalls of our current systems, operators in our study were skeptical about a more highly automated future of transit. In asking operators to reflect on the potential for driverless buses, they challenged both technical feasibility and the impact on passengers. Imagining an automated system handling a full range of circumstances they experience while operating the bus seemed all but impossible. Brianna pointed to an example of a regular rider with Tourette's syndrome who just starts cursing and carrying on, and who's going to tell him to calm down? Take a breath. Did you take your medicine? And direct him to a different train of thinking so he can stop cursing for no apparent reason. Who's going to do that? In order to make sense of our findings, particularly those around assisting passengers, we turn to these sets of questions. Why do bus operators find themselves assisting people experiencing homelessness, mental illness, and poverty? Think of Gabrielle helping an elderly woman avoid the cold, or Brianna providing care for a passenger having an episode. And in the paper, we describe still more. We turn to sociological explanations to understand how our political economy shapes the day-to-day working experiences of bus operators. Here in the US, policies that punish the poor and accelerate market growth are often advanced at the stake of investing in communities. In this context, we ask, what role does this largely invisible, or at least undervalued labor play in our social and economic system? In doing so, we expand the range of concerns around automation for HCI researchers and practitioners. We argue that bus operators function as shock absorbers, taking on additional labors, yes, but also absorbing harm and injury, as Caleb described. We argue that automation that leads to replacement or disinvestment from bus operators is akin to taking the shock absorbers out of the system and could lead to harm to individuals and communities who are already in crisis. In the near term, we expect automation to gradually transform the driving roles of bus operators. Think of all the unexpected circumstances we describe that are part and parcel of the job that are currently challenging to self-driving systems. Partial automation could still result in some potential harms. These may result in punctuated moments of intense engagement during handoff maneuvers, where a driver has to suddenly intervene. Harms to driver may also stem from increased tracking and surveillance. Together, these changes could worsen overall job quality. So instead, we argue for an approach that focuses on collaborative human-machine teaming premised on continuous engagement in a way that enhances safety and provides meaningful tools for bus operators to do their jobs more effectively. A more just future of transit is possible. We argue that HCI researchers and practitioners have a role to play in realizing this future of transit work that enhances, rather than denigrates, safety, dignity, and equity. This includes collaborative human-machine teaming, as I was just describing, and also participatory design and elevating worker voices. You can follow our work at codesigningtransit.com or by scanning this QR code. Thank you for listening, and appreciate it.